I did not have a chance to teach ha'tzav this year, so at least we'll have one shiur, a bissel of shmooze in the maamer ve'ata. Okay, with a little time, about half an hour, a bissel of bringing ha'tzav. You all know the story, right? The story was that when the Rebbe became Rebbe, he said he has no time to write the chassidus, to write his own memorim, and he further wrote that he doesn't have time to be magi his own memorim. Ibitze kuppen. So Rabbi wrote the memorim, and B'derach stayed in Hanuchas. The Rebbe used to say it, Rabbi used to write it, and he has a memorim like a cup. I mean, the ability to record the tale of the Rebbe the way he did is extraordinary. But the Rebbe told him then, said, "Now will come in the sight of them. One time, the time will come." So for the first 35 years of the Rebbe's Nesius, till the beginning of Menvov, the Rebbe's Muguzik Maimorim could be put in a book like this big. A handful of Maimorim, a dozen, 2 dozen Maimorim. When I was growing up, there was something called Kuntris Maimorim, which came out Mistami in Lamedvov, which is Maimorim of the Rebbe. It was very, very small. And every year or two, there was Magir 1 Maimer, 2 Maimorim. Some years was more, some years was less. But very, very, very few. And then Vavram Zakin Tashim Memvov was the first Maimer that came out, Rouses de Liela. And then all of a sudden, Maimorim started coming out. And it became more and more frequent. It became very clear that this was a new Indian, that the Rebbe was going to be Magir Maimorim. Rabbi used to prepare the Maimorim, and the Rebbe would be Magir the Maimorim. Chaim Sholbrook told me that Tishrei Tafshin Nun Beis, the Rebbe wrote a note that Ein Azman Gram Ha'Keis, he doesn't have time to Magir the Maimorim. So he told me that he got shikir from Chastele, whatever he took l'chaim, and he went over to the Rebbe, and he said to the Rebbe, "The Eibush will help him, because he was very involved with Rabbi El Maimorim." Nun Beis. And the Rebbe looked at him, the Rebbe said, "Amen." And then after that came out, I think 9 more Maimorim. That winter, Rebbe gave Maimorim. And of course, the Hemshech Hadover was that the Rebbe, that winter there was Maimorim. And the most recent Maimon from the Rebbe was Purim Katan, Vata Tetzava, which came out on a Monday night. I think it was given on Monday night, 2 weeks before the stroke. That was the Rebbe, the Ariel prepared it, and the Rebbe was Magia it. And when the Rebbe was Magia the Maimon, he wrote on the margin, Yihirotzein Chetifel Puloso Horetzuya, that he hopes that the Maimon will have the desired effect. And the Rebbe said that he wants to give the Kuntas out to everybody. Now that year, Nun Beis, the Rebbe gave out lekach 4 times. It was lekach 4 times. Nun Beis, 4 times. We got before Yom Kippur lekach, as the minhag is b'chol shana v'shana. We got lekach, I think it is Kislev. Either it is Kislev or Chanukah. We got lekach Chav Bei Shvat. The Rebbe gave out a pink kuntas called kuntas Chav Bei Shvat with a piece of lekach. And then we got lekach on Purim Katan. The Maimon Vata Tetzava, the Rebbe gave out for 4 or 5 hours. A very, very long time. And when the Rebbe was walking out of shul, people kept running in. And the Rebbe stopped a few times to give out more, which he had never done before. In the past, if you came in late, you had to get it from the mosquitoes. Now, the Rebbe should stopped a couple of times to give out the kuntris. 2 weeks later, we had La'aleinu the stroke. So in hindsight, this Maimer became the Maimer that's negeh to us. That even though B'derech HaTeva, Rabbi El Khan picked it, and Rabbi El Khan wrote it, and the Rebbe was Magia it, this is, but again, just like Basi Lagani, the Rebbe said about Basi Lagani, that even though L'cheir Basi Lagani came out on Maimer, it was the same thing. The Friedrich Rebbe stopped saying Maimorim, the Friedrich Rebbe started to give out old Maimorim, but from years earlier, and Mistama the Rebbe chose the Maimer. We don't know if the Rebbe chose or the Friedrich Rebbe chose, but because and the Maimer was given out for a different occasion. The Maimer was given out to the yard of his grandmother and his mother. The fact that Yud happened, so the Rebbe called it the Maimer of Yelula. So Gimel Tam, this Maimer, V'yata Tetzava, is a very, very important Maimer. But I want to tell you a word, that the Rebbe spoke, Pashas Azriya Mitzayre in Tafshin Nun Aleph. And he said the following. He said, there's 2 madregas of miracles. One madrega of miracles is called Neflois Harenu, and the other madrega of miracles is called Harenu Neflois. The Neflois Harenu is Eibush does a miracle, unless he shows it to you, you don't see it. The Neflois Harenu was a miracle. The Eibush does a nes, unless the Eibush shows it to you, you don't see it. Then the Harenu Neflois. Harenu means a miracle which is so overt, you automatically see it. So the Rebbe said in Nun Aleph that we're going through miracles which are preparation for this Gals of Melech HaMashiach. And the Rebbe said then, but these miracles are in the Bechina of Nefloi Sarenu. The Eibush has to show us the miracles, or otherwise we won't see them. But Mashiach is going to come, there's going to be a miracle we'll see by ourselves. Why am I saying this? Because if you look at the Maamar of the Friedrich Rebbe, Basi Lagani, yeah? How would you know that it's the Tzavar of the Friedrich Rebbe? What makes that Maamar special? If the Rebbe would not make from the Maamar what the Rebbe made from the Maamar, none of us would see it. The whole idea of Dire B'tachteinim, and the Skafia Vizhapche, and Shtus de Liyuma, Shtus de Kedusha, and Sevis Hashem, and Bizbuz Ha'itris, the Rebbe showed us what this Maamar is, and therefore we know that the Maamar is a Maamar that's connected to us. But Vata Tetzaveh, nobody has to show. The Teuchen of the Maamar Vata Tetzaveh is so overtly negate to us that without anybody pointing it out, it's so obvious what's the message of Pashas Vata Tetzaveh. What's the Teuchen of the Maamar Vata Tetzaveh? The Teuchen of the Maamar Vata Tetzaveh is the job of Moshe Rabbeinu. That's how the Maamar begins. Vata Tetzaveh is Bnei Yisrael. So the right away the Rebbe says doesn't say Vata Tetzaveh, it says Vata Tetzaveh. And the difference between the word Tzav and the word Tetzaveh is not only in the Taich but in the Teuchen Advarim. The Tzav means command, give over instructions. Tetzaveh is a herot to Moshe Rabbeinu. Hashem isn't telling Moshe Rabbeinu what to tell us. Hashem is telling Moshe Rabbeinu what's Moshe Rabbeinu's inyan. And Moshe Rabbeinu's inyan is Tetzaveh. So there's two expressions in this Maamar Vata Tetzaveh. There's two expressions in Maamar Vata Tetzaveh. The first one doesn't last very long. He uses it only in the beginning, and then he immediately moves on to a second expression. The first expression in the Maamar Vata Tetzaveh is lekasher ulekhaber es Yisrael lemeidin seif. That the inyan of a Rebbe, the inyan of Moshe Rabbeinu, is to tie and to connect. Lekasher ulekhaber, to tie and to bind. As Yisrael im eidin seif, to connect Yidden to the Mebishn. That's the Vata Tetzaveh as Bnei Yisrael. Lekasher ulekhaber es Yisrael lemeidin seif, to tie and to bind Yidden to the Mebishn. Moshe Rabbeinu's inyan is to Yidden to meidin seif. But on the next page, the Rebbe said how. How is Moshe Rabbeinu Makasher Mechaber Es Yisrael Im Eidin Seif? And the answer is that he is Zon Mefanes Es Yisrael Binyan Emunah. That Moshe Rabbeinu gives Yidden Mezoynis and Panasa. You ever learned Ksubis? The Eibush, the Moshe Rabbeinu is providing Yidden with Mezoynis and Panasa. Mezoynis means food that you ingest internally. Panasa means clothing and kishutin and other things that a woman needs, which are makifim. That Moshe Rabbeinu is Zon Mefanes as Yisrael, he provides the Yidden with Mezenis and Panasa in Inyan Emunah. There's Inyan Emunah, and the Rebbe shows that's a Lashon HaZayah, word for word. The Zayah uses word for these Lashon, that Haya Emunah del Eile Yitzin v'Yispanes Mini al Yodacha. That Moshe Rabbeinu gives Yidden Mezenis and Panasa when it comes to Inyan Emunah. But the chap of this Maamar is a play on this second expression. Right? The first expression is lekasher lechab Yisrael and meidin seif to get Yisrael to get meidin seif. The second expression is lozon or the fanes as Yisrael binyan emunah. Now, before we continue, I just want to say the yisod. What's the nikud? What do these two things mean? Lekasher lechab Yisrael and meidin seif, lozon or the fanes as Yisrael binyan emunah. What do these two things have in common? And it's very, very important to know this. What these two things have in common is the following: there is an idea that being a Yid is based on what you do. Based on the mitzvahs that you keep, based on the Torah that you learn, based on the knowledge that you have, and even based on the character you develop. There's an idea that being a Yid has to do with outside, with what you make yourself into. Chassidus, Pnimis HaTorah, emphasizes that being a Yid has to do with what's going on inside. It's with your neshama. Like you see in all the videos of the Rebbe, where people come to the Rebbe, and the Rebbe they tell the Rebbe they want to learn a little about Yiddishkeit, and the Rebbe says you can learn a lot about Yiddishkeit. All you have to do is look at your own heart. It's inside. Right? In other words, is being Jewish, is the Jewish faith a rational thing? Is Jewish faith based on its lifestyle, and on its philosophy, and on its teachings? And the answer is ultimately no. It's very important. That's what you need to do. But being Jewish is based on something which is inside, a pnimistic thing, a neshama thing, an essence thing. And that's Moshe Rabbeinu's task. There are Rabbanim and Rosh Yeshiva to teach Torah. There are other people who teach Midas Tevis. Other people teach how to do mitzvahs Maisias. A Rebbe, Moshe Rabbeinu, his job is to help a Jew discover the Jew that's inside. That's what these two expressions mean. Lekasher ulekhaber es Yisrael meidin seif, to tie and connect the Yidden with the Ein Seif. That's expression number one. Lozon ulefanes es Yisrael b'inyan emunah, that emunah comes from Hashem. But the mezenas and the parnasa, the food and the clothing that we need, the food and the other things that we need to internalize the faith, this is what we get from Moshe Rabbeinu. So the tzava shove. In other words, what's the vaata tetzave? That the Rebbe gives us a Rebbe, and the inyan of a Rebbe is to help a Yid discover that his Yid is his essence. Like I discussed with you last night in the shir, for those who were here, the story with Lasky, everybody has an etzem. Your etzem is not your brain, your etzem is your neshama. And you cannot fulfill your mission, or to say it in psychological terms, you will never have happiness until you give actualization to your pnimis, until you give actualization to your neshama. That's what the metzias of a Yid is. Inside is a pintele, and that pintele needs to be given voice. And like I told you the story last night with Lasky, I mean, there were very few of you here, but this guy, Mr. Lasky, met the Rebbe, and he asked the Rebbe, how could the whole world be wrong and only Jewish people be right? How could it be that the black man is wrong and the Indian is wrong and only we're right? So the Rebbe said to him,
you have the long hair, right?
Yeah. The purpose of the black man is to actualize what is the essence of the black man. The purpose of the Indian is to actualize what is the essence of the Indian. The purpose of a Jew is to become connected to the Eibishter, to the behavioral practice of Torah and mitzvahs. In other words, what the Rebbe told him was, you're right, the Indian isn't wrong, the black man isn't wrong, and the Jew isn't wrong. But they have different essences. What separates one person from another is their pnimius. It's not the lifestyle choices that they make. It's the pnimius, it's the neshama, it's the essence that the Eibishter gave them. The Eibishter created a goy.
But the pnimius is clash.
What does that mean, they clash?
One guy's pnimius believes different things.
No, we're not talking about what they learned. We're talking about what the Eibishter gave them. Every person has a truth. That truth is good and that truth is godly. And that truth needs expression. And I believe that not only is that a fact, but I think that every human being at one point or another in his life knew that that's true. You have inside you a neshama. Your neshama is goodness. It's good. And it's true. And it's not lazy. And it's really God. And a goy also does. But what does it mean for a goy, the God inside of him, that's to keep Shavah Mitzvahs B'neinech? The black man keeps it in his way, the Indian keeps it in his way. For a Jew, that God, that good is not fulfilled, is not complete without keeping Torah mitzvahs practically. That's what the Rebbe told him. So a Rebbe, Moshe Rabbeinu, his Inyan is not to teach Torah and to get us to do mitzvahs. He does that also. A Rebbe's Inyan is to get every Jew to discover his Jewishness that comes from this bechina. So you have these two expressions. The first expression is lekasher or lekhaber es Yisrael l'meir ein seif, to tie and connect into the ein seif. And the second expression is lozon or lefanes es Yisrael binyan amuna, to give mezenes upon us for Yidden the matters of faith. I just want to make something very clear. That emuna doesn't come from Moshe Rabbeinu. Emuna we have from Avram Avinu. Like it says in Chassidus based on a pasuk, Churi meirei shamona. That we have a matana. It says in pasuk and it's explained in Chazal. Churi meirei shamona. We have a matana. Mireish lama aminim, from the first believer. The first believer is Avram Avinu. Every Yid has a neshama. Every Yid has a pintel Yid because of Avram Avinu. But what the Gemara says in Brachas, says you will know that ganva apum machtarta rachamona karye. What does that mean? I believe in the Eibishter, and I daven the Eibishter to help me steal, and if I need to, even help me kill. How could I daven to the Eibishter to help me be even two of his aseres hadibris? And the answer is because I believe in the Eibishter, but I don't believe in him enough to change my life. It's called makiv. And this is where Moshe Rabbeinu comes in. Moshe doesn't give us Amuna. Amuna is a gift to a Yid from Avram Avinu. What Moshe Rabbeinu's role, what Moshe Rabbeinu's avodah, what Moshe Rabbeinu's job is to take the Amuna, which is behelem, and to bring it out begoli, and to give it focus, to give it a spirit. Okay. Now, what's the geboy of the Maimed? There's so many different ways you could approach this. Okay. The geboy of the Maimed is that there is a play on this expression. The Rebbe is machadish something in this Maimed, which doesn't say in the Maimed before. This Maimed of the Rebbe is based on the Maimed from the Friedrich Rebbe, which is based on the Maimed from the Rebbe Rashab, which you can trace all the way back. And originally it's a Zayah. This Lashon, Lozon or Lefanes Yisrael, Binyan Amuna, the Rebbe quotes word for word from the Zayah. The Zayah says, Haya Amuna del Yela, Yitzin v'Yispanis, Maniel Yodach. The Zayah says exactly these words, that Moshe Rabbeinu provides Mezenis and Panosa Binyan Amuna. But there's a Chiddush in the Maimed. There's a Chiddush in the Maimed. I'll tell you what the Chiddush in the Maimed is. The Chiddush in the Maimed is that when the Maimed begins, the quotable quote, which is from the Friedrich and Rebbe's Maimed, is Lozun ulefanes es Yisrael binyan amuna, to give mezenos apanasa to Yidden about ladders of faith. Then the Rebbe asks a bunch of kashas. And based on those kashas, he creates a new phrase. And the new phrase is lozon ulefrens es ha'emuna עצמה. What's the difference between the first phrase and the second phrase? Lozon ulefrens es Yisrael binyan ha'emuna, and lozon ulefrens es ha'emuna עצמה. What's the difference between the first phrase and the second phrase? The first one is that the Moshe Rabbeinu gives emuna to your consciousness, to you as a person. The second one is lozon ulefrens es ha'emuna עצמה, means that the Moshe Rabbeinu touches your pintel yid. The difference between the first one and the second one, the first one is saying Moshe Rabbeinu gives you emuna b'goli. The second one is Moshe touches your yechida. And by Moshe touching your yechida, he causes the emuna to trickle down into your consciousness. And that's the chiddush of this maimed is this vart. That it's not only lozon or lefrens es Yisrael binyan ha'emuna, that Moshe Rabbeinu gives emuna to Yidden in a conscious way, because then you start going into questions which generations he gives, which generations he doesn't give. Yekos es lamar, nitkos es lamar. So the solution to these kashas is this new idea. Lozon or lefrens es ha'emuna עצמה. How does Moshe Rabbeinu give Yidden emuna? He touches the emuna in a Yid. The emuna in a Yid is the quiddusha b'nefesh. The quiddusha b'nefesh is the subconscious. The quiddusha b'nefesh, for lack of words, is the essence of a Yid. And Moshe touches the nekuda. Moshe triggers, Moshe tickles, Moshe irritates, Moshe wakes up the pint of the Yid. And then it trickles down from the pint of the Yid into the kechas ha'geloyim. It comes down from there to here. But this is Moshe Rabbeinu's inyan. And around this whole maimer goes. Okay, so I'm being very repetitive, and I'm being repetitive on purpose. The first expression is lekasher lechav Yisrael b'nei sof, and the second expression has two forms. The classic form, the form that comes from the earlier Rebbeim, is lozon ulefrens es Yisrael, that he gives emuna to you directly, consciously. And the second expression, lozon ulefrens es emuna עצמה, that Moshe Rebbe touches your yechida. So whatever generation you live in the best generation or the worst generation, zman hagol, zman habayis, in a good time or in a bad time, Moshe's task is always the same, to touch the pintel yid. Then there's a secondary task where he leads the generation practically, but the yesod and the pnimius hadavar is that he touches the quiddusha b'nefesh. Lozon ulefrens es ha'emuna עצמה. Okay? So once we understand the neshama of the maimer, the pnimius of the maimer, the pnimius of the maimer revolves around these expressions. Now let's do the mitzias of the maimer, right? That was called the mahus of the maimer. Now let's do the mitzias. I always tell you, mitzias means form. We'll do the mitzias of the maimer. The way this maimer goes is that it develops step 1, step 2, step 3, 3 different prototypes, 3 different examples of Moshe Rabbeinu. That's how the maimer works. It starts off with one Moshe Rabbeinu, then it moves on to a second Moshe Rabbeinu, and then the big chiddush of the maimer is the last 4 prakim, where he introduces you to a third Moshe Rabbeinu. Okay, what's the concept of Moshe Rabbeinu? So first of all, it starts with this, that it's pashtusa de Moshe b'chol dor v'der tzes zeyah. That in every generation there's an expansion, there's a radiation, there's a presence of Moshe Rabbeinu in the generation. Number 2, Medrash, Ein der she'ein bei ki Moshe Rabbeinu. There's no generation, there's not a man on this earth who's like Moshe Rabbeinu. And Derech Hagav, the Rebbe brings also, when he makes a whole inyan out of it, Mordechai b'deirei ki Moshe b'deirei, specifically Mordechai was like Moshe Rabbeinu. That in every generation there's Moshe Rabbeinu. And in every generation, Moshe Rabbeinu's tasks have been defined. Lekasher lechaber Yisrael b'nei sof, lozon ulefrens es Yisrael binyan ha'emuna, lozon ulefrens es ha'emuna עצמה. If you could memorize these phrases, we'll give an agut alach. But the generations change. Because the generations change, mitzad echad, what Moshe Rabbeinu does never changes, and mitzad hasheni, what Moshe Rabbeinu does always changes. When you're talking about pnimius, and pnimius is lozon ulefrens es ha'emuna עצמה, every Moshe Rabbeinu has the same job. Moshe Rabbeinu finds neshamas Yisrael, he has this special magic feather, and he tickles it, and he'd have a seder teshuvah. B'chol mokum shehem. The Rebbe goes and finds souls, and wakes them up, and brings them close to the Atzma Tzav Baruch. That never changes. So the pnimius dike, the inner role of Moshe Rabbeinu, the real job of a Rebbe, which is to touch Yiddish and neshamas, that in Hebrew is lozon ulefrens es ha'emuna עצמה, is a constant. But in addition to the Rebbe touching Yiddish and neshamas, the Rebbe is also a Rebbe bepeil. He's a leader. He gives direction. A Rebbe gives direction. In as much as a Rebbe gives direction, every generation is different because he responds to the needs of the time. And that's the second thing. Lozon ulefrens es Yisrael binyan ha'emuna changes generation to generation. Lozon ulefrens es ha'emuna עצמה never changes. always, in every generation, Moshe Rabbeinu touches Yiddish neshama. That's called laws and lefanes esamuna עצמה. In every generation, Moshe Rabbeinu uses different tacts, different techniques, different practical avoidance to help Yidden serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu and to do tshuva, to close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, v'chuli, and that's called lozon or lefanes es Yisrael ben Amun. And in our Maamar there are 3 examples. The first is Moshe Rabbeinu. Where and when was Moshe Rabbeinu a Rebbe? And of course the answer is Moshe Rabbeinu was a Rebbe in the best of times. Yidden Taka lived in a desert, but they were surrounded on all sides by clouds. These clouds protected them from the element. They kept their environment tempered. They also had the miracle of the clothes that grew on them and stayed fresh and didn't wear out. V'chuli. Then they had water from a rock, Be'edesh Midian, which tumbled through the desert with them up and down hills and valleys, mountains and lowlands. And then, of course, the miracle of the moon. And what were Yidden?
There wasn't any hills, valleys.
Manichim, Magbiim. Okay, it says that Nachalil Bamais means went up to the top of the mountain. Bamais a guy went down into the hill. They stayed in the Shira of Oz Yasher Yisrael Ali Be'er.
There's only 2 mountains.
Okay, fine, but that's enough. I mean, the point is, if it had to go uphill, it went uphill without a machine, without electricity. And then in the middle of man. So what do you do if your environment is safe and comfortable? You have clothing, no problem. Food, no clothing. Water. What do you all day and all night? For 40 years, they learned Torah. And I love to point this out. You learn the Chumash, you realize that all the trouble happened in the first 18 months and the last 12 months. Which means that for 37 and a half years, the entire story of Yidden Midbar is represented by an empty space that's 8 letters, or whatever it is. A psicha. For 37 and a half years, everything was wonderful. Varai, there's no stories. They sat and learned Torah day and night, men and women and children. And they created the Torah. They created Seichel HaTorah. So we needed a Rebbe before. So the simple answer is, well, you needed a Rebbe to go through those first 18 months when you didn't complain 10 times. You needed a Rebbe for the last year when you didn't complain a bunch of times more. What about the 37 and a half years in the middle? Who needs a Rebbe now? So the Rebbe said, Moshe made fabrengens. And in the beginning, Mistama, they were very, very infrequent. Maybe just Shabbos Bevorchen. And towards the end, it says, Chazal, Makal kills B'Yisrael, B'Shabbos, Moshe made fabrengens every single Shabbos. And Moshe Rabbeinu's fabrengens had one simple message. You hear? You listening? Moshe Rabbeinu's fabrengens had one simple message. The simple message of Moshe Rabbeinu's fabrengens was this. You're living in a cloud. Everything is milmaila, and you're all tzaddikim. What happens if the cloud goes away? What happens if the man goes away, and the Be'er Shamim goes away, and Nanakav goes away? What kind of Jew are you going to be then? In other words, he challenged Yidden to ask themselves, am I the Yid I am because of me, or am I Yid I am because of the clouds? Is it real, or is it my environment? Is it pneumistic? Did I really become this person, or I'm only this person because of the environment I'm in? Take me out of this environment and I'm a nothing. And that Yemont by Yidden Das. Moshe was a Rebbe. So again, in terms of the pneumistic function of Moshe Rabbeinu, in terms of what's underneath, lozon ולפרנס האמונה עצמה, all Rebbes are the same. But in terms of the actual leadership, lozon ולפרנס Yisrael ben האמונה, every Rebbe, every Moshe Rabbeinu was a little bit different. You understand? And what was Moshe's Rebbeship? Moshe Rabbeinu was busy with the inyan of Das. That every Jew has to look in the mirror and ask himself, am I Jewish or are the clouds Jewish? Am I Jewish or is the water that I drink Jewish and the man that I eat Jewish? And you have to personalize it. This was his fabrengens. This is what he pounded away. This is how Moshe Rabbeinu rebbed his generation in his times. Because that's what the times demanded.
Are you trying to tie this into the summer?
Are you trying to tie it into the summer? You are trying to do nothing. You are trying to chazer amayim echsidis, which is negeh to kolech v'achas, b'chlalu b'frat now.
It's negeh for us. We're yeshiva.
Okay, point well taken. Okay, so I didn't intend it, but it certainly intended. That when you make a hat and it fits, it's that I was made for you. Then the Rebbe goes to the second Moshe Rabbeinu. Again, the second form of Moshe Rabbeinu. And this is the opposite extreme. Who's the second Moshe Rabbeinu? Mordechai. And the Rebbe says that Agav. Why am I going from Moshe to Mordechai? Besides the fact that this is a Purim Dekamayimid. So the Rebbe says, because Mordechai shares something with Moshe Rabbeinu that not all Rebbes have. And that is that he was the Rebbe of the whole Dor B'Galui. He reached every Jew in his generation, not just b'pnimis, but b'chitzenius. Moshe Rabbeinu actually shepherded every Yid in the whole world. They were in an area of 144 mil, 12 parsois, and 9 parsois. And he was the Rebbe of all the Yidden. Mordechai had Yidden spread over Sheva ve'esem Medina, but he also shepherded them all directly. But Galo, they got anochas of his fabrengens, you understand? The time of Mordechai was the time of Mesiras Nefesh, that Haman wanted to kill Yidden, l'hashbes l'arigal abed. And of course we all know the story, the way it says in Tereir, that there were two kinds of Yidden. There were Yehudim and Ivrim. And Haman wanted to kill Yehudim, not Ivrim. Ivrim were assimilated Jews. High society Jews. Any Yid who registers as an Ivri has a good life. Fakert, their original passport said Ivri. When they came to Bavel, the official denotation of a Yid was an Ivri. Yid went into Golos, they came to Bavel, they made a very interesting discovery. It's one of the most interesting pieces of our history. It's the only time this happened. When Churban Bayis Rishon occurred, and Nebuchadnezzar's Machav, the first base on Mikdash, he took Yidden into Golos. He didn't take Yidden into Golos like common slaves. He took Yidden into Golos like you capture the modern technology. He took Yidden into Golos and he made them his officers in his government, because Yidden were known to be incredibly smart, and he wanted to use the Jewish brains to advance the cause of Bavel. So they came to Bavel, they were treated not like slaves, they were treated like welcome guests. And when Yidden discovered this, what happened next? Rahman al-Itzlan, there was an assimilation. His boilelus. Yidden and Goyim started to intermarry. The Gemara says that 70 years later, it says in Tanakh, in Sefer Ezra, when they had to build the second base HaMikdash, Ezra took 44,000 people with him back. And at one point he stops and he realizes how many Goyim he has, how many Mamzedim he has, and how many Kafetz was, and he freaked out. Ezra went crazy. The Tanakh describes how upset he got. And he had to be Miyachas Yidden because there was such an assimilation. And of course the assimilation did not only extend to intermarriage, it extended to Avodah Zarah. So they're a group of radicals, fanaticus. We call them today Meshachisten, we call them, yeah? Who decided this is no good, so they come up with a new title, Yehudi. What's Yehudi? Kol ha'keif b'Avodah Zarah. Kol ha'keif b'Avodah Zarah nikra Yehudi. That's one Gemara. And then there's another Gemara that says, ha'kefer b'Avodah Zarah meik ilu meida b'chal ha'teira kula. If you deny idol worship, if you're not from, just the fact that you deny Avodah Zarah makes you meida b'chal ha'teira kula. And Haman's Gezerah was on the Yehudim. On the Yehudim. Because they were Yeshnei Am Echad, they were different, they didn't assimilate. A goy needs a reason why. Halacha Esav Sen El Yankiv. It's part of the hard wiring. A goy hates a Yid. I don't know what to tell you. When I was younger, I doubted this. Now I'm old. Now I know it's true. It doesn't make sense. Anti-Semitism is the most irrational hate in the world, because the best thing a goy can do for himself is like a Yid. Jews are such good people. They're even honest people. As much as they say we're not honest, we're honest. And we're kind, and we're helpful, and successful. How would a goy hate a Yid? The phenomenon of anti-Semitism is so foolish. Every goy who started up with a Yid paid a much higher price than the Yid paid for that anti-Semitism. Spain is still not recovered from this anti-Semitism. It's incredible to me. Why would a goy hate a Yid? So stupid. And he can't help himself. As soon as the Yid has a little success, hates Israel. So Haman attacked Yehudim. But a Yehudi has recourse. He has an Eitzah. Go to the passport office and register. Instead of Yehudi, write Ivri. You're off the hook. I'm a modern Jew. I'm an assimilated Jew. I'm a reformed Jew. I'm not an old-fashioned Jew. I'm not a chnyok. And Mordechai was me'eded by Yehudim Mesiras Nefesh. And not only were Yehudim not running in droves to become Ivrim, Ivrim became Yehudim. And for 11 months from Yud Gimel Nisan, when the Gezerah was written, until Yud Gimel Adar, a whole generation of Jews waited to die al Kiddush Hashem. Even after Haman was hung, and 70 days later, it took 70 days for Achashverosh to get up from his drunken stupor and give permission to write the second notes. And they were sent around to Sheva ve'esamei Medina. Achashverosh never said that Haman's Gezerah is bottle. Achashverosh only said that Yidden could defend themselves. Ayashakech. The Jews were supposed to fight with the whole world. They didn't know what was going to happen until the day came. The nest was Goyim didn't come out to fight. Only the Bnei Agog, and the Yidden were able to manage the Bnei Agog. The world, if Goyim, imagine the Eibush, the king says on this and this date, that people, there's no consequence. Go into the house, shoot them, kill them, maim them, people, torture them, take their wealth. Whatever they own is yours. Kill him, fair game. There's no consequences. There's no punishment. So why wouldn't the guy do it? I met a Hungarian Jew who said to me once, they killed us, they sent us off to the gas chambers because they wanted our homes. I was upset at it, but he's a Hungarian Jew. But they wanted our property. They wanted our wealth. They hated us. They wanted what we had. And the goyim stayed home. So for 11 months, from Yud Gimel Nisan to Yud Gimel Adar next, Yidden didn't know what was going to be. And then when it came that day, they made a nest. Most goyim stayed home. The 75,000 people of Agog, they came out to fight, Yidden were able to defeat. So it was a whole year. A whole year where Yidden could have saved themselves by becoming assimilated Jews, and they refused. This was Mordechai. So the Rebbe says like this. Mordechai also had two inyan. The pnim is the inyan of Mordechai is a concept that never changes. The pnim is the inyan of Mordechai is lozon, ולפרנס, האמונה, עצמה. But Mordechai, like Moshe Rabbeinu, touches the pintaliyah that never changes. But the leadership of Moshe Rabbeinu, the chitzonius of Moshe Rabbeinu, what Moshe Rabbeinu did when he made Farbrengens, Moshe Rabbeinu rallied Yidden for Mesirat Nefesh al Kiddush Hashem. If you read the Sichas the Friedrich Rebbe in the early 1920s, the Friedrich Rebbe used to talk about the Moranos. The Friedrich Rebbe used to talk about the Jews by the Crusades. He talked about Mesirat Nefesh like it was bread and butter. Get ready to die to be a Jew. That's how the Friedrich Rebbe spoke. For a whole year, Mordechai aroused Yidden with this readiness to Mesirat Nefesh. So is Mordechai and Moshe different or the same? And of course the answer is exactly the same and not the same at all. In the previous inyan of lozon, ולפרנס, האמונה, עצמה, it's exactly the same. In the chitzonius inyan, lozon, ולפרנס, Yisrael, האמונה, Moshe Rabbeinu did it so peacefully, das. And Mordechai rallied them for Mesirat Nefesh al Kiddush Hashem. And then the Rebbe adds a caveat. That because Moshe Rabbeinu did it in a peaceful time, there was no kosas la'amor. He couldn't reveal the Yechidah. He could touch the Yechidah, but he could only reveal the Chaya. Because by Mordechai there was kosis, there was anti-Semitism, there was hate from Goyim. Kosis la'amor, he actually revealed the Yechidah itself. Then the Rebbe says, this Mordechai is the Friedrich Rebbe. The Friedrich Rebbe woke up the pintal Yid by Yidden by rallying them to Mesirat Nefesh. And then the Rebbe continues. And he says there's a third Mordechai, third Rebbe, third Moshe Rabbeinu. Who's the third Moshe Rabbeinu? The third Moshe Rabbeinu is the same Mordechai after the Nes. What's the story? The story is, what's the story? What's the story? The story is that the Nes happened. Haman was hung and his children were hung. The 70,000 Agogites were killed. Esther revealed to the king that she was a Jew. Mordechai became Yeshiv B'Shan HaMelech, etc., etc. It was all good. Life is wonderful. So you think Mordechai went to sleep. He put on a different hat and became another Rebbe. What was his new Rebbeship? He farbrenged again with a totally different message. Totally different message. What was the message? Do not think that this is good. We were almost killed al Kiddush Hashem. The Eibishter made a nest that not only we were saved, but we were raised up. Goyim think of Jews in high regard, but it's a kata, it's galos. And if you start to like this thing, it's weiter galos. So you have to want Geula, you have to want Mashiach. Says the Rebbe, during that year, Mordechai talked about Mesirat Nefesh. When that year was over, Mordechai said, you like America? You should know America is a golus, b'teich golus. It's a darkness, and forget, because it doesn't feel dark, that proves just how dark it is. You just don't want to go out of golus. And he became a very different Rebbe. A very different Rebbe. His job was to make Yidden hate golus and want Geula. To what extent? Kosas Lamoir. That a Yid lives in Shushan Abira, in Susa, has a beautiful house and he has many servants and he has figs all year round and wine and all the other delicacies of the Middle East. And he's zerbrochen, is an ganzen setreisel from the fact they find himself in Galus. And Mordechai had a different job. To wake up in Yidden a desire for Geula, not because they have tzaras. To wake up in Yidden a desire for Geula, even though life is very good in Galus. Otherwise the Galus becomes a darker Galus. And the Rebbe says this is the third Mordechai. And again, let's talk it through. Every Rebbe has two inyanim. That's the Kiddush of this Maimer. A pnim is the Kenyan, and a chitzen is the Kenyan. The pnim is the Kenyan of a Rebbe never changes. Lozon, ולפרנס, האמונה, עצמה, touch Kiddush of benefesh. But the chitzen is the Kenyan. Lozon, ולפרנס, Yisrael binyan Amuna now becomes Yidden the living in Galus. Life is good, and you have to be me'ered and Yid. We want Mashiach now. That you're sitting in Galus. If you like Galus, then your Galus is darker than it really needs to be. And the Rebbe says this also causes Lamoid. It also reveals Yechida, even though there's no anti-Semitism. Even though there's no Goy, the Goy is respectful, the Goy is nice, and the Goy helps you, still you reveal Yechida. Why? Because it's Lamoid, because you're crushed from the fact that you find yourself in Galus. Now, there's only one thing that the Maimon doesn't say, but we're going to say. That this Mordechai is our Rebbe. The Rebbe said about the first Mordechai in the time of Mesirat Nefesh, just the Friedrich Rebbe. But when he goes on to saying what happens to Mordechai after the Nes, that Mordechai now rallies Yidden to want to go out of Golos, he doesn't mention one thing, that this is us. And this is Vata Tetzava. The Rebbe gave us a Maimer, Medem Lepman. And the Teich of this Maimer is that not our life is going to be bad, but our life is going to be good. And that's the Golos. That's the Golos. And a Yid has to have a desire for Mashiach Tzidkenu and Eifn of Kosses Lamoid. When Eibnit is a Nachtifer in Golos. And then there's a lot of other fancy things, but this is the Teich of Maimer. Okay, so the Nekuda of the Maimer is these three expressions. Lekasher, Lechaber, Yisrael, Amir, Yinsaf, Lozon, Lefarnes, Yisrael, B'Yamuna, Lozon, Lefarnes, Amuna, עצמה. And the body of the Maimer, the Metzias of the Maimer, is these three Moshe Rabbeinus. Moshe Rabbeinu Agashmi, Mordechai during the year of the Gezerah, and Mordechai after the Nes. I want to add one more thing to this, and that is the v'yikhu Eilicha. V'yikhu Eilicha comes up in the Maimer twice. It comes up in Perek Beis, and it comes up again in Perek Tes. Yud. What's the difference between the v'yikhu Eilicha in Perek Beis and v'yikhu Eilicha in Perek Yud? The difference is the v'yikhu Eilicha is Moshe Rabbeinu schar. Moshe Rabbeinu is mekasher and mechaber es Yisrael Amir Yinsaf by being zon and mefarnes es Yisrael bin Yamuna by zon and mefarnes Amuna עצמה, and he has a schar. And the schar that Moshe Rabbeinu gets is an aliyah in Moshe Rabbeinu, which is called V'yikhu Eilicha. In the beginning of the Maimer, the V'yikhu Eilicha of Moshe Rabbeinu is like a Manasa Kabul Pras. He gives us one thing, a connection to the Eibishter. He gets something which is separate from that. And as you know, it's as Chassidus, the word Pras is the word Perusa. It's like a broken piece. The reward that he's getting is less than what he's giving us. Because what he's giving us is connection is a real thing, and the schar is secondary. But at the end of the Maimer, the Rebbe changes that the v'yikhu Eilicha, the schar that Moshe Rabbeinu gets for getting us closer to the Eibishter, is the ability to bring us closer to the Eibishter even more. In other words, Moshe does his function of bringing Yidden closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and his schar is that he's able to bring Yidden to the Eibishter even closer. How? By Yidden giving of themselves to Moshe Rabbeinu, by Yidden partnering, becoming shutfim with Moshe Rabbeinu, by Yidden becoming a shutf with Moshe Rabbeinu, so by giving of himself to Moshe Rabbeinu, by becoming a partner in what Moshe Rabbeinu does, which basically means the idea of shlichus, it allows Moshe's ability to raise us up and connect us to HaKadosh Baruch Hu to become even higher and deeper. And in what way do we become higher and deeper? So this is just, I'll say it, but it's an imminence. That Moshe Rabbeinu's ability to connect us to HaKadosh Baruch Hu unilaterally is to be Magal the Yechidah Shebenefesh. But it's the Yechidah Shebenefesh has two madregas. The lower madrega of the Yechidah Shebenefesh is called Etzem HaNeshama Kfi She Mugderes Begeder Apshitos. Etzem HaNeshama is infinite, but it's only infinite. And it pushes aside the Keches HaGiluyim. But when Yidden partner with Moshe Rabbeinu, so then it adds in the V'yikhu Eilicha, they give of themselves to Moshe Rabbeinu, and as a result, Moshe is able to reveal the Etzem HaNeshama Kfi She Moshe B'Ha'atzmus, a higher layer of Etzem HaNeshama, and as a result, the Keches HaPnim and the Keches HaGiluyim of Yidden are also changed.